About fractions, just in case you don't remember from your previous courses. But first, I want to just show you how can we add fractions. So 1/2 plus 1/3. Okay. Now the trick with adding is you have to have the same denominator, and ideally I want the smallest denominator I can, or what 2 and 3 can have in common. Well, I can turn this 2 into a 6. I can turn this 3 into a 6. If I do that, I need to multiply this by 3, which means I need to multiply this by 3. So I get 3, 6. And 3 divided by 6 is still half, so I haven't lied. I just changed its form. I'm going to multiply this 3 by a 2, and then this 1 by a 2, so I have 2, 6, and then I can just add these together, and so I get 5, 6. And that's how you add fractions. Okay, now what about subtraction? Is that any different? Let's look at that. So subtracting them, it's the same idea. When you add and subtracting, you have to have the same denominator. So I'm going to turn this into a 6 by multiplying it by 3, so I have 3, 6, minus, and then I need to turn this into a 6, so I multiply this by 2, so I get 2, 6, and then you can just subtract the tops. So 3 minus 2 is 1, so this is 1/6. Okay, so it's really just like adding, except you have the negative sign. Okay, and once you have the same denominator, you can just add or subtract the tops. Multiplication is a little bit different. So if I have 1/2 times 1/3, well, we just multiply tops for tops and bottoms for bottoms. So on top, I'll go 1 times 1, which is 1, and then 2 times 3, which is 6. And so that equals 1/6. And multiplication is the easiest operation of fractions, so hopefully that makes some sense. Just multiply the top, multiply the bottom. If you can, you always want to simplify at the end. Let's look at a problem where you could simplify. How about 1/2 times, I don't know, 3/12. Okay, well, I could have simplified this before, so I can say that this is 3 over 24, but I can actually simplify this as 1 over 8. Okay, so you always want to simplify it at the end. Or you can actually, I should say, you can simplify at any point, but you want to simplify it by the end. That's what I should have said. Let's look at this. What if you have 3/2 times 7/9? Okay, well, I can't simplify the 3/2, and I can't simplify the 7/9. But because I'm multiplying, I can actually simplify this 3 and 9. I can turn that into a 1, turn this 9 into a 3. And there's not much to be done with 7 and 2. So I have 7 times 1, which is 7. And then I have 2 times 3, which is 6. And if I can, I simplify again, but we know that we can't, so this is just 7, 6. Okay, so multiplying fractions is the easiest of the operations, but hopefully that helps you along. Now, what do you do about dividing fractions? What does this mean? Okay, well, it's a fraction divided by a fraction. This can also sometimes be written very messily, but it can be written in this way. We don't usually like it, but you can. Let me describe how are you going to solve it. Well, you can solve this by flipping the second fraction over. If you flip it upside down, if you use the reciprocal, then you can simply use multiplication. And as I said before, multiplication is the easiest operation for fractions. So I can go 3 times 1, which is 3, and 2 times 1, which is 2. So the answer is 3/2. Okay. Of course, you can just use a calculator if you're dealing with numbers. If you're dealing with expressions, you're probably going to have to do it by hand. Okay. Where are you going to get into trouble? Well, how about 1/2 divided by 10? Because this, it doesn't appear to be a fraction, but every natural number can be written, remember, as over 1, so now I've turned it into a fraction. So I can go 1/2 times 1/10, and then 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 10 is 20. So this is 1/20. What about 10 divided by 1/2? Okay, well, again, I can think about this as 10 over 1, okay, 1/2, so I can flip it. So 10 over 1 times 2 over 1, and this is just 20, okay? So you get different answers, so you got to watch that. Again, if it's numbers, you can simply plug in your calculator. If it's expressions, we have to understand it fully because we have to do it by hand. So please let me know if you would like to see more complicated examples, but that should at least get you for a running start on fractions.